that at least I hadn't heard before. I don't know if you guys want me to delve into some of those details or if you want
Absolutely,
to.
yeah. So tell
Oh,
us. So
okay.
so basically, overall, you got introduced to the designs of the practice facility, but what was great about it is that you had access to the general manager and the managing partner of the Suns, and they talked about the team, which was a little unexpected. I didn't even think about that. So that's pretty great. And yeah, tell us what you learned today, man.
Yeah. So, the thing that sounds like what they're trying to do with this is it's not just going to be a building that's there that is a strictly Suns facility and Mercury as well because it's for both teams. But they're really looking to make that area kind of a little mecca. Robert Sarver said something to the effect of he wants it to end up being kind of the preeminent non-downtown area in Phoenix. So they're putting in the practice facility. There's also on that same property apparently going to be a hotel that's going in. That's a Sam Fox owned hotel, and I made a comment to Brendan because he was there today that Sam Fox might be quickly nipping at the heels of Robert Sarver as one of the more wealthy people in Phoenix because now he's got a hotel that's going up right there. In terms of the facility itself, it sounds like it's going to be for lack of a better way of putting it, a super cool place for these players to be able to go. There's going to be 24/7 access for the players, including access using retinal scans. So it's like, I don't know, futuristic. I mean, that's pretty sweet. They're saying how the players like to go in late, get up shots. Coaches like to go in late, so they want to make sure that players that are on the team have access to that facility at all times. There's also an indoor outdoor aspect to it. Included in addition to having the obviously practice facilities, the practice courts, and what have you inside, there's going to be a 40-yard turf field that's outside where players can work out as well. And another kind of cool aspect of it, and I keep saying cool aspect because you look at it from the perspective of possibly trying to get players interested in coming to the Phoenix Suns. I certainly think that it's useful to be able to lure them by having these really neat facilities. I mean, you look at like perhaps not a perfect example, but University of Oregon with everything they have in up there with their football team and how they're able to attract players. But in that regard, Sarver brought up the fact that every area within the facility is going to be open to natural light, even the practice courts. So with that setting that's right there at 44th Street and Camelback, the view of Camelback Mountain, I think it's going to be something that's going to be very alluring to players. And I think it'll be interesting to see once it's done what we might be able to, how that might be able to operate in terms of getting free agents, getting again players interested in Phoenix as a destination like it used to be back in the good old days.
That sounds pretty incredible. I've seen some pictures of it as well, and it looks a little futuristic too. And I know James Jones talked over the summer that it was going to be like a place players can stay. There's going to be a lot of sleeping quarters and several kitchens and things like that too. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and that was one thing that James Jones said when he got up there and spoke. He said, if you're a player, there's nothing more important for you than knowing that when you step into a building that you have the best. And I think that kind of falls in line with the whole concept of getting players interested who might not be on the Phoenix Suns right now about possibly coming to the team in the future and making sure that they know that they're well taken care of and have facilities where they're going to get top-notch, state-of-the-art, technology, access, amenities, and what have you. And it seems like, based on what I heard today, that they're certainly trending in that direction. The Phoenix Suns are.
So this was also Robert Sarver's first media appearance, apparently since 2017.
Probably
Really?
a smart choice. Honestly, I understand it. That's a PR decision, and it wasn't unlike certain times while I was with the team as well. They chose to keep him away from speaking with the media and dealing with that. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me that it's been that long, and probably for the better. James Jones has been able to kind of become the face of the organization along with Monty Williams, and we know that works. But this is a business thing. I mean, as much as it's basketball, it's business. It's city oriented as well. So that's why Robert Sarver was the face of this in particular. That doesn't surprise me in this case. And it's his money. He's the one funding it. So
I thought it
when you
was
spend 80
interesting.
million, he can say whatever the hell he wants. So.
I thought it was interesting when I watched the a little bit video of him talking that he said it was about $45 million project.
As of today, and he said, "Call me next week because it'll probably be
Yeah,
more."
but the original promise was 75 or 80 million or something like that he was going to fund in his own money.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as to whether or not when he says $45 million, if they're talking specifically about just that facility. Because like I said, there are apparently going to be some other attractions, for lack of a better way of putting it, that are going to be going in that area. I don't know if perhaps some of that's going to come into it, or maybe they allocated that much money knowing that it's going to continue to build up. Your speculation would be as good as mine because he certainly didn't delve into that. But yeah, he said 45 million today.
So what's the feelings there in Phoenix regarding this? Does it are people excited? They actually feel like it's going to make a difference for the team as well as an economic benefit in the area?
Look, that area doesn't need any economic benefit. That's already an affluent area there.
Yeah, no, Sarver
honest.
does do a lot of work in the non-affluent areas. They just don't. He just talked about it today that they put $1 million up to in I forget Maryvale or somewhere. Yeah, and so he does do a lot of work with the inner city things. This particular practice facility it's on purpose in about the best part, one of the best parts of town. They literally said that this is where the players and their families would live in this area, and so that's what made it so convenient.
Well, look, and a lot of teams do this. I mean, this isn't unheard of. The Suns are actually one of the last to actually jump on this train in terms of building your practice facility where players want to live. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Spurs actually built their practice facility right near where Tim Duncan wanted to live to convince him not to sign with the Orlando Magic back then as part of it. I'm not joking. That actually, if I'm remembering that story correctly, was part of the deal with him. So this isn't unheard of, and it's actually a smart move. It's interesting, though. Team offices will move there, so employees will work out of there. Day-to-day operations will happen there. The only thing that'll happen down at the arena is the games and the ticket sales.
Yeah, and Tim, to your point too, I haven't heard a lot since the whole city council thing went down about the practice facility any further, but a couple of points that Sarver brought up while he was speaking as it pertains to, or it could have even been one of the builder or possibly Deacon Cini, who was there as well.
Could have been anybody, Justin.
Right. Maybe I'm making this up in my head. I'm not sure. I wrote it down though, so I'm assuming it's coming from somewhere. But they indicated that with the facility going in there, the hotel that's going to be there, restaurants that are going to be there as well, they're expecting an influx of 1,700 jobs in the area. There's $350 million total in private capital that are going into it. And also mentioned was the benefit for the city when it comes to hotel taxes, estimating, and again, this is over 25 years, but $50 million over 25 years, and then another $33 million in property taxes. So when you look outside of the scope of, okay, it's a practice facility for the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, and there perhaps are going to be some social amenities around there, like restaurants, the hotel, what have you. They certainly are putting at least some level of focus on the financial benefit that this is going to presumably bring to the city of Phoenix.
Look, having eaten lunch with a lot of people that work there, that's the economic benefit to that area. There's going to be so many people going to lunch just from that from those offices right there. They'll make their money back in no time.
Imagine being a business that's right there already, and there's like,
except for that property tax though.
It's funny. One of the sorry Tim, but one of the building on the corner right there is a medical building, and my kids pediatrician is in there. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll start taking my kids to their doctor's appointments more often or something, just linger around a little bit.
And you could just leave the kid at the doctor and say, I'll be back in a couple hours. I'm going to go watch a practice.
Justin, I need to clarify something because the audio was breaking up for me at one point, but you said there's going to be a 40-yard indoor turf for those times when the Suns want to play flag football, or did they elaborate on why that was part of this?
There was no elaboration as to why that's part of it, but it was brought
I
up
think it
that
was
there's
hula
going to be this
dancing.
40-yard outside turf. It could be hula dancing. Um, perhaps if you don't want to run
Yoga. Oh
sprints on
wait,
the
no,
hard
Earl
floor, you
Watson's
get
not with the
a
team.
little bit of that, the padding from the grass. Yoga, yeah, that'd
Well,
be fine too.
they could play some soccer games and work on their footwork.
There you go.
They could. Hey, you
It,
get the
Possibilities are
dancers out
endless.
there, and you could do the yoga, and that'd be good.
if it was Earl Watson, the yoga would be it would definitely be in play with that. So.
Legit, when you're playing basketball with somebody, you can tell who played soccer and who didn't just by looking at the footwork.
How their
Yeah,
feet move.
Yeah,
they usually kick the
It's
ball
legit.
more often than
The sad thing is that I did play soccer as a kid, but that didn't help my lateral movement.
So
lot
let
of,
me ask you guys. Ask you guys this: do you really believe we've heard, and it was brought up again today, that one of the benefits of this is the fact that it will help attract top line free agents? Do you think a practice facility is legitimately going to accomplish that for the Phoenix Suns, or do you think that's more posturing as to why it was important to get that the vote passed for the new arena and the practice facility? I feel it's a little overblown. I don't think any guy's
That's Trevor
gonna
Ariza.
yeah, well, he signed without that practice facility, so my point was just made. But I think it maybe has some, but I
Ask
think
all
it's been
the other big
overblown.
name free agents who signed with the Suns.
Yeah, well,
or the ones who
ever.
didn't.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't Jared Dudley who had said something about the practice facility being awful, and then Devin Booker liked the tweet.
Hey, Jared Dudley says a lot of crap, though. I love JD, but I wouldn't base my opinion based on Jared Dudley.
Even Robert Sarver, I think, when I watched that video from earlier, said that, well, okay, this practice facility is at least third on the list of things. I mean, the first is players, second is coaches, third is stuff and amenities. But Greg, when you go on vacation, it is kind of important to you what your hotel room looks like, right? I mean, it's important to you to know where you're staying and what kind of amenities you're going to have when you have downtime. That's what they're selling to these guys.
That is not the case after my summer league experience. I'll just say that.
Well,
I let Tim book all that stuff, and I obviously regret that on many levels.
But that means it is the case, because from now on, that's going to matter to you.
This is true.
The hotel we stayed at was fine.
Did you not use a black light?
Let's be honest. The hotel we stayed in was the current Phoenix Suns practice facilities of Vegas hotels. So I'm totally on board.
You guys were at Hooters?
We didn't. I think we stayed at what, the Flamingo?
We were at the Flamingo.
Oh, God, right next to the Hooters.
It was also built in 1993, 92, and hasn't been updated since. So I now understand that yes, amenities do matter, and this probably will have an impact.
The best thing about the Flamingo is that it's close to the other ones.
No, the best thing about the Flamingo is the pool party.
No, that even sucked.
So we heard.
So, anyways, we're way off track.
Greg left at like 11 o'clock in the morning and didn't really stay for the pool party because he's a good man.
So the pool party got more interesting after that.
It got much more interesting. But I would liken it to, okay, so I am going to buy or rent a condo somewhere. Whether or not they have a gym and a nice pool at the condo is not the decision factor, but it definitely is something that I consider.
But Tim, if you're going there for the gym, isn't the gym a factor?
Well,
that's the thing. This is a practice facility. There's going to be some sleeping quarters in it. There's going to be kitchens and stuff like that. So you can stay if you need to stay, but it's a practice facility. So don't you want the best of where you're going if you can get it?
Let's be honest. If that condo came with Monty Williams, Devin Booker, and Ricky Rubio, then yes, and it was nice, then yeah, I would. So I think to your point, Dave, what Sarver said in terms of is one of the factors is probably the most accurate statement we've heard about this. And if you believe they have the coach,
Robert Sarver as a reference for good thinking.
Hey, he's a smart businessman. I've never denied that he obviously has made solid business choices, and in the end, this is a business choice. But yeah, so I guess if we believe Monty Williams is the man, is the coach, which we do, I don't think anybody's going to argue that, and we think that they have
I do believe he's our coach. Yes.
the foundational pieces for the future, then the practice facility does become an important element. And everything, it seems like today they suggested this is going to be done prior to next season. So I mean, it could have an impact in free agency this summer, as early as this summer.
Yeah, August
That's how you
1st
get
was a
Anthony
date
Davis
that
in.
Sarver threw out.
Which, if you do the math there, that means the poor equipment staff is going to have to basically house their equipment somewhere between when they start the renovations at the arena, which is supposedly May or June, till August. So I guess they're just going to be driving U-Haul trucks around the valley until
Flatbeds.
their new homes ready. So
No, just flatbeds, man.
yeah.
And they have the players working out on the back of the flatbed. Don't lose your balance.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you want to talk about some of the games that happened since the last time we recorded?
Yeah. So Lakers game last
Yep.
night. Raise your hand if you watched the game.
That's really
Right
great
on.
for audio.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
we
all
all
four of us
raised our
raised our
hands.
hands.
All right.
All right, raise your hand if you were physically at the game.
Oh, that's all right.
One
Dave-
hand up.
Dave is
my
being
badass.
cool. Yeah.
Uh,
That gave you such a better perspective on what happened by being in the building,
It
Dave.
does give great. It does
Yeah.
give a different experience.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm so tired of Lakers fans. I got to tell you, it's bad enough when the Suns have sold out the arena with nearly sold out with season tickets, and they still let Lakers fans buy their tickets off them on secondary sources to make some money. But it's even worse when there's not many season tickets sold for a season. So all the tickets are open for anybody who wants them. And the ticket prices were huge. The ticket prices were $150 in the upper deck. It was crazy. But these Laker fans were buying them up. And I feel like there was more Laker fans in that arena than Suns fans. Although I do very much appreciate the Suns fans cheering like crazy to try to drown out the Lakers fans. It was pretty interesting. It was like a concert where every good thing that happened on either end of the court, there was a major, incredible cheering for.
That's because
Lakers made a basket. Ah! Suns make a basket. Ah!
that's because a third of those Lakers fans are also Suns fans too. So there's a weird internal debate going on between certain people in the building as well.
There was a lot of couples in the arena with one of them in a Suns jersey, the other in a Lakers jersey. So
How could you do that? Like I need some pills to be able to get that to work at that point.
The Suns fan got some really good looking Lakers fan to go to the game. You know, that's how a Lakers fan got in. I bet those.
I don't care how good looking a Lakers fan is. I'm not in on that. I'm sorry.
That's a relationship that can never work in my world.
That's a deal breaker.
Relationship, you know. That's exactly that. Laker fan jump you anyway as soon as something better comes along.
It was.
Got to tell you guys, I have definitely compromised for worse. So,
yeah, I think
back to Vegas. We can attest.
How was that again?
So there's been some changes though. I want to get everybody's short opinions on them. Changes to the rotation. Javon Carter basically gone except for a few garbage time minutes.
That doesn't surprise me. He stopped.
Yeah, he had really
efficient.
bad week and a half. He didn't make hardly. I think he made one shot in a week and a half. Although Frank Kaminsky made one shot in a week and a half, and he still has all the minutes he needs because the Suns needed him. They don't need Javon Carter because Tyler Johnson can play backup point guard, and they're staggering Rubio and Booker for all but like 1 or 2 minutes. They're literally putting Booker in for the first 11 minutes of the first quarter. And then they're having Rubio come in at the start of the second quarter. There's only about a one maybe 2 minute breather where not one of those two is on the court, and they share the court for at least half of their time together. So it's really good. And Monty's just decided he doesn't need point guards really in that line other than Tyler Johnson for a minute or two, and that's it at the end of the third and at the end of the first. Otherwise, you've got one of Rubio and Booker. So I think
you got to wonder if that changes when Ty Jerome comes back, though.
I worry a little bit about him getting a chance, because if Monty's really comfortable with a 9-man rotation and the Suns are doing well, maybe it's hard for Ty Jerome to get any time. I wonder actually if Ty Jerome's going to start in the G League for a game or two just to get his feet under him.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude has not been running even hardly in weeks, so I wouldn't put him in an NBA game immediately. I'd have him practice for a while with the team, but even practices are not full time because they're fully on their season schedule now. I mean, Greg, you remember firsthand, they'll go weeks without a practice because of their schedule, real practice. They'll just do walkthroughs and conditioning and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be
especially at the
surprised.
end. Especially at the end of this month, I think it's 5 games in 7 days, so they won't practice at all, even on the front and back end of that as well. So there won't be time to work them in there. So I think G League probably makes sense.
This last week they had a couple of 2-day off periods at home, and that's probably the last practices they'll have for a while, and Ty Jerome missed all that. So I think a G League stint would not be surprising to me. I don't know for sure that he would get it, but it would not surprise me.
Justin, your thoughts on Javon Carter?
Like I think Dave, you said, his efficiency fell off. When he was hitting the three, it was working out beautifully to have him in there, especially with the defensive intensity there he'd bring to the court. But our last episode of Fanning the Flames, I kind of referenced the concept of if it's not broken, don't fix it. Well, Javon Carter's involvement in the rotation and the team ended up becoming a bit broken, and things are still clearly clicking with him on the bench and with Tyler Johnson picking up those minutes. So it makes all the sense in the world to me. And as far as I'm concerned, the way the Suns are playing right now, Monty Williams can do whatever he wants, and I'm going to be cool with it until I have evidence otherwise.
Cool with it. I mean, we've been treated to years of players being frustrated with losing minutes, players openly being frustrated, showing frustration in locker rooms after games after losing minutes. And we always chalked it up to, well, a player's a competitor, blah, blah, blah. But none of these guys are complaining on what Monty's doing. I mean, Monty's not playing outside 9-10 guys. There are guys who would love to get in games, and they're not getting in games. Elliot Kobo has been a true pro. Now, Javon Carter, he was up cheering. He was up getting the fans off there like he did in the game where he was actually playing. He did it again with his warm-ups on, cheering, getting the fans up off their butts at some points when he wanted them to. And then I want to touch on really quick Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre Jr. had a terrible game on Tuesday night. He just was out of sync. LeBron was just bullying him all over. And Oubre he was overshooting all of his shots. He was 0 for 5. He hardly played in the second half. The guy only scored 1 point for the game. He averages, I forget, somewhere around 15 for the year. And he got 1 point in the game. You know what he did after the game? He walked around the locker room. I don't think he did an interview, but he just walked around like he wasn't angry or afraid or anything. And then, to say the wrong thing. I mean, not afraid of us, but afraid of saying the wrong thing. But he didn't do that. And then he posted on Instagram saying, "Sorry, Suns fans, it won't happen again." So taking ownership of playing poorly instead of blaming the coach for not letting him play out of it. I think that just shows Monty Williams' ability to get at these guys, get them in the right frame of mind to play well. And the other thing I really like is after the game, the guys were talking about what they did wrong. They weren't talking about refs. They weren't talking about anything else other than, this is what I did wrong. This is what I got wrong. This is how I can get better. Every play matters, that kind of thing. It was really nice it's a great locker room this year.
Well, and look, I mean, that Lakers game came down to a bad 2-minute stretch. They're up 113, 111 with a little over 2 minutes to play. And it was a few missed threes on the Suns end and Kyle Kuzma having literally a good final 2 minutes.
Exactly what you just said, Greg. There was literally about a minute stretch there. Just the LeBron 3 to the Kuzma three. That was like suddenly, because that was a broken play. So LeBron made 1-3, a deep 3, and he's going to make them, whatever. Suns go down, they miss one. Then it comes back down on the Lakers offense, and actually LeBron jacked up another 30-footer and missed it badly, but the rebound was so long that the Lakers kept the ball. Then the Suns were just kind of confused and scrambling. For the first time all game, the Suns did not react well. And suddenly Kuzma was open for a 3. And the dude's hitting 20% on threes this year. So it's not the worst thing in the world to have him shoot him. And of course he made that. And then he made his next one, and then the game was pretty much over. But I give the Suns a lot of credit. They battled hard, and both LeBron and the Lakers coach did what every other coach seems to be doing this year, saying that that's a really good team, and we feel this is a really good win for us, for the ones who beat the Suns. And that's what Vogel said. That was a really good team, and it's a great win for us. And now tonight, they're sitting Anthony Davis in the second of a back-to-back, but they played Anthony Davis and LeBron each 37 minutes against the Suns, and Vogel was very Frank Vogel, get it? He's very frank about all of his guys are playing, and if they're going to rest, it's going to be the next night. And tonight is against Golden State, who is this year the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Well, and they needed every minute from LeBron and Anthony Davis. That's how well the Suns played on Tuesday night, and that speaks volumes. And to your point, the locker room is a different place because Monty Williams is such a solidifying force with that group. Because how petty would it look if somebody after a game like that, or any of these games so far this year, came out and was complaining about playing time or minutes? In the past,
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, if a guy like Javon Carter had complained under Earl Watson's watch, we all would have been like, well, that seems about right because, that this whole thing's a mess. But if he does it with the way Monty Williams is running things, he looks like a misfit. He looks like a guy that doesn't belong and doesn't fit a culture, and that speaks volumes to what they're building in this locker room.
Absolutely.
So on the last episode, we talked a bit about Cam Johnson. We didn't actually break it down by all the three-man lineups. Justin, I don't know if you had a chance to listen or if you've done the research yourself, but we basically looked at all the three-man lineups that the Suns had, and there was one common denominator with all of them, the net negative ratings of all of these three-man lineups, and that common denominator was Cam Johnson. So, we talked about on the last episode whether or not Cam Johnson should see a decrease in minutes. Since recording, we've definitely seen more Cam Johnson. He's jumped from 20 minutes to about 27 minutes a game. Your thoughts on him getting more minutes, how he's played, and whether or not you think that's the right decision for Monty?
Excuse me. I again, Monty Williams is going to do what Monty Williams is going to do, and as long as the Suns are playing like this, I'm going to support it. Yep. And I'll say even with Cam struggling to some extent, although he had a really good game. What was that? The not the Laker game, but the Nets game, right?
He played pretty well last night, but he also played. Yes, he played good on Sunday as well. Yep.
Right, and ultimately, when you have a player like that who obviously was brought in to shoot the three, and you've had a guy like Frank Kaminsky who you brought in expecting him to be able to shoot a three, who has been cold is an understatement for the past couple of weeks until he kind of broke out a little bit. Yeah. It makes sense to give Cam Johnson those minutes. And as long as the team continues to play well, remain competitive, even if Cam's net negative rating or the net negative ratings are all, you're seeing the common denominator of Cam Johnson. I think at the same time, while he's an older rookie, he's still a rookie, and he needs to get his feet underneath him when it comes to the NBA. And if the Suns can accomplish that, if Monty Williams can accomplish that while at the same time ensuring that the team remains competitive like they have been, then so be it. Because from what I've seen of Cam Johnson, when he's shown those flashes, I see exactly what James Jones and his staff saw in Cam Johnson when they drafted him. And he could be a very important part of this team moving forward, especially as this season progresses. So why not give him those minutes? And at the same time, I mean, again, when you have somebody like Frank Kaminsky, who, although they play different positions, is struggling, where else are you going to really look in terms of who else is going to get playing time if Cam Johnson's not taking up those minutes? So I'm, again, perfectly fine with Cam getting them. And we're going to continue to see, I'm sure, games where he's struggling. We're going to see games where he breaks out a little bit, and hopefully as this year progresses, if he continues to get those type of minutes, it'll be more consistently the games where he's playing well overall, as opposed to those games being the not the norm.
It's crazy to me. It's felt like he has struggled, but then you look at the stat sheet, he's shooting 40% from three, and yet the eye test makes you feel like that is just not the case.
Because it should be 100.
Well, yes. When your nickname as Dave, you've dubbed him as Cam Wow. I expect higher than 40% from three. No, I think it's because he's been streaky in some cases. So some games, obviously, have had more misses than not. But you look at it in totality, and you're like, he's actually shooting very well. He's the guy that they told us he was. And to your point, Justin, he is still a rookie. So there's gonna be that adjustment period, no matter how old or how many years he played in college coming in. And it seems like he has Monty Williams' trust. And if that's the case, in turn, he has my trust, because I'm not betting against Monty Williams right now.
I think it's hilarious that we make him sound like he's a 30-year-old rookie or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of rookies in this league that are in their late 20s. And Cam is 23. He's 23. Let's not pretend he's like as old as everyone wants to. And it's just it's a funny meme. I love the meme and all that, but the dude still has a lot to learn in the NBA. He looks good. He plays smart. He's got good peripheral vision. He doesn't lose his man. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he also stays in front of you because he does have just naturally long arms because he's 6'10". So he can do things on the court that are the greater than the sum of his parts.
And his hips haven't popped out of joint like we all thought was going to happen.
Not even once.
So win.
So
Don't jinx it.
The Suns, they are taking on the Hawks, who are allowing 108 points per game. That's 17th worst in the NBA, while scoring 104 per game, which is the 24th worst offensive rating for a team. My question to you guys, with Evan Turner and John Collins both being out, how can the Suns overcome the star?
Kevin Huerter.
What did I say?
Evan Turner.
Evan Turner's a big loss. Big loss.
Oh man,
that's okay. It's okay. Kevin, he might be out
again.
too. He's probably not going to play either. But Kevin Huerter definitely is out, and that's our third and fourth leading scorers.
Right.
With John Collins as well.
So how can the Suns overcome the star power that is Chandler Parsons, Alex Len, and Vince Carter?
I tell you what, man, Vince Carter's probably going to drop a 20 on us.
As long as Trae Young doesn't go like for 50 and we hear you could have had him too.
Well, I tell you what,
he didn't fail a P test.
If Trae and Vince combine for 70 points, then the Hawks will lose by less than 10. Wow. I just don't see the Hawks winning this game. I don't, because the Suns have
have
rebounded
68 points,
from every loss. The Suns have kept the right mindset, frame of mind, every game all season, and so I don't see the Suns letting up in this game. I really don't. I see this being, but it would probably be like the Memphis game a couple of weeks ago, where the final score isn't as wide as you might want it to be. It won't be like Golden State or Sacramento, where it's 25 points. It might only be 10. It might only be 12. It might be closer than we want it to be all game, because Trae is a gamer. And there are some really good players on that team that really want to stick it to the Suns if they can. But I still think the Suns are going to win by 10 or 15 points, just because they're going to execute better than Atlanta will, and they're going to play enough defense to close out the game. The way the Suns were in not being quite good enough to beat the Lakers, I think it's going to be the Hawks to the Suns. So I just don't see the Hawks being able to keep up with the Suns team that focuses for even a couple of quarters.
And the Suns have also, every game this year that they've lost, the next game they've come out and played really well. And I think that's going to carry over here, especially when you lose a game like they lost last night to the Lakers. Emotional game, obviously. The biggest regular season game the Suns have had in a decade, give or take, right? I think they'll come out focused and ready to roll. Again, you look at the loss to the Nuggets, came out and beat the Clippers, lost to the Jazz, came out and beat the Warriors with that ridiculous first quarter, lost to the Heat, came out and beat up on the Nets. So now we're looking at a game where they lost to the Lakers. I think they're going to come out and 10 to 15 sounds about right, because they'll probably be sitting a lot of their guys late in the fourth quarter. That's what I'm thinking.
Aaron Baines dominating Alex Len. I think that's all we can look forward to.
What about the Alex Len revenge game?
That would have been last year, wouldn't it?
We've watched Alex. We've watched Alex exactly. He's been gone over a year, but we know who he is. he can try to have a revenge game. And if he gets 10 to 15 points, that might feel like it for him. It's not going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10-7 for his revenge game. That's fine.
He'll be smiling.
That is revenge. Look, I'm doing stuff in this building I've never done before. So
You mean
yeah,
catch a pass? So he'll catch a pass in the lane?
The Suns should win that game pretty handedly. They're definitely the better team. I do think Jabari Parker isn't necessarily the best matchup, but I don't think Jabari Parker is going to be the difference between a win and a loss with the Suns team.
you know what I see here is we're going to be bringing these comments up on Saturday when we have to talk about the most stunning loss of the Suns season. So I feel like this is the first time we've confidently come out and been like, no problem. This team's got this one.
Okay, so I was on YouTube, and just before the Sixers game, there's this semi-famous YouTube Sixers podcast guy that was talking about the Suns game, saying how easily the Sixers were going to just wallop on the Suns, right? You guys should have seen the expression on his face and the tone in his voice the next day when he had to do that recap.
I am picking at the Alex Len-led Atlanta Hawks to have a big victory versus the Phoenix Suns on Thursday. Hopefully that's enough to reverse the jinx.
What are you giving? You're going to shave your beard again.
I'm just
hoping to shave your beard again.
No, I'm just hoping I can reverse the jinx that we put on them by being so confident about a win. So
I like the way you think.
Yeah, it's 10 years of this relationship. Well, more than that, 20 plus years of this relationship with this team. But the last 10 have made it rough.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, are we done? I got in trouble for ending the episode too early last time, and I really don't want to do it again this time.
We are done. There we go. You can end it, Tim.
Did I read?
Are we going to have a new win total prediction for the Suns? No, I'm just kidding. So right, I did come out of last night's game, Tuesday night's game, saying the Suns are definitely a playoff team. We can talk about that on Saturday. That's our lead in to Saturday's episode.
Teaser.
Justin from Fanning the Flames, excellent podcast. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Yep, hey, I appreciate being on as always, guys. Absolutely.
Tell us where to find you, Justin.
I'll be at the game tomorrow night, so if anybody wants to find me, they can find me there. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at SoSaysJ, and our pod, Fanning the Flames, is at Fan the Flames NBA. And even though he's not here, my podcasting partner, Paul, is at Dervish of Whirl.
Is Paul going too?
Yeah. Yeah,
let me know where you guys are sitting. I'll come over and say hi.
Don't let him know you don't want to have to deal with that.
One time I caught him outside cheering for the cameras to the Tom and Tom show.
Tim, please end this now before we have to hear any more Dave stories.
And on that note, thank you so much.
Dave's story with his whiskey.
To all you guys, and also to Sarah Combs, the latest $10 subscriber, patron of the show. Sarah, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know your address, and I will send you some Sun swag. In theory, we will be back for the YouTube version of the show Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Arizona time.
In theory, Greg.
In theory. All right. Thanks, guys. I got to run.
Cool.
Bye.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.